Hey, Rugby Hub viewers, and welcome back to another episode where we are doing the preview for the Rugby Championship last round, round six. And yeah, it's actually anybody's sort of championship trophy to lift. Gabsy, how are you doing? I actually heard that we have a younger fan tuning in. Maybe you have some more on that.
Yeah, so Guri, just like the younger fan, I can't sleep at night. I'm super excited for this weekend. And I just want to give a little special shout out to Reinhard. But on that note, Goran, let's get straight into it.
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, right, it's up for grabs. Anybody can win this rugby championship. I guess the favorites would be the All Blacks and the Springboks. I think the All Blacks have the better chance to win, but maybe you can go through it with us how it is
Yeah,
possible that maybe the Springboks can win all Australia or maybe even Argentina.
so
Yeah, maybe go through it
yeah,
with
it
us.
really is anybody's game. I mean, it's very unlikely that Argentina actually wins this rugby championship.
Mm,
Obviously, if the All Blacks win with a bonus point and they win with a rather big margin, I don't think there's any catching them. However, the Bokke
mm,
could also win with a bonus point, and then we have to like kind of just double that margin or, really win far. Obviously, it comes down to point difference in that scenario. If Australia beats the All Blacks, the Bokke just needs to win. There's
mm,
also obviously the possibilities of draws, and if the one wins with a bonus point and the other not, but those are the most likely cases. Then for the
mm,
Aussies to win, obviously the Pumas needs to beat us, and Australia needs to win with a bonus point. And then if the Pumas wants to win, they need to win with a bonus point and quite a significant margin in Durban, where they've actually had their first victory over the Box. And
mm,
Australia just needs to win with just a normal 2, 3 points, no bonus
mm.
point. So anybody could win it at this stage. But I
Yeah.
guess the favorites at this stage would be the All Blacks or the Springboks.
Mm.
If the All Blacks does not secure a bonus point win, I guess the Bokke will be going for everything with a bonus point in South Africa.
I guess it's very difficult to beat or to win the rugby championship if the All Blacks beat Australia with a bonus point. But yeah, I guess as a South African or a Springbok fan, you would actually, for the first time ever, root for Nick White and his troops to bring it home at Eden
Not
Park,
for
which is a
Nick
very,
White, but
very
yeah, for
difficult
Australia.
for Australia. Yeah, it's a very difficult task for them up ahead. Gabs, let's get straight into it, right? The second game of the weekend, let's maybe touch on that one first, is the Springboks versus Argentina. Let's quickly take a look at that Argentina game
Yes,
against the
yes.
Springboks. What does the Springbok lineup look like? Are there any
So,
changes?
I mean, with
Um,
in the Springbok lineup, in the starting 15, actually only see two changes, which is Pieter Steftetouw coming in on the seventh
mm,
flank. He comes in for Franco Mostert, who shifts to the bench, and then Ulrich Loh misses out this time. Think
mm,
an interesting observation that I've made is that this is basically like finals rugby, right? So this is the final week. It's everybody's game. And the fact that Jasper Wiese is starting this game means that Jasper
yeah,
Wiese is slowly becoming the first choice above Dwayne Vermeulen. Of course, that's not
yeah,
final yet, but it's an interesting observation to make. And
yeah.
I mean, I guess if the championship played out differently and the Bokke actually won at Ellis Park back then, um, I think you could have seen a guy like Evan Roos getting a chance now against Argentina, which is
Mm,
really sad. I think he's already back with the Stormers, but I'm sure his time will come. He's still super young and he's got heaps of talent. So still excited to see him
mm.
come into the picture at some stage. And then in the backs, obviously, one big change. Damon Willems is out with a concussion, and Frans Steyn
Yeah,
is coming into that 10 jersey. What a
you
player.
gotta love that, Gabsy. You gotta
Yeah,
love Franz Stein putting on that 10 jersey. I'm not sure it's even gonna fit him anymore. Um, but it's good to see that heaps of experience coming into that 10 shirt.
I mean, yeah, Goran, the last time Frans Steyn played in a 10 jersey starting for the Bokke was in 2008. Back then, Caden Moody was only 5 years old. So that's pretty crazy.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you
But
believe it?
other than that, you see quite a bit of changes on the bench as well with Bongi being fit again. He's coming back.
Yeah,
So, I
that's
mean,
exciting.
we've seen Malcolm Marx can play the full 80. He scored a try in the last 5 minutes of that previous game. So he can definitely
Last
go all the
minute
way.
even.
Yeah, so I mean, he definitely is fit for the 80, but Bongi is there. Then you also see Vincent Koch coming in into the place of Trevor Nyakane. And then you see as well Kurtley Arendse coming in. So I guess Kurtley Arendse would obviously be covering the fullback and the wing. So
On the
yeah,
bench, right? Yeah.
yeah, in the bench. And then the guys that's missing out, of course, is Ulrich Lau, Nyakane, Dion Fourie goes out, and
Mm,
Andre Esterhuizen as well. And of course, Damien Willemse.
yeah.
So those are the changes for the Bokke. I think
Yeah.
obviously with a 6-2 split on the bench, it's quite an interesting selection, knowing that we have to go for a bonus point victory. So, if you ask
Most
me,
likely. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we have to. So if you ask me, I guess they're going to probably mix things up and they're going to play a lot with the forwards. I mean, we've done it a lot in the past, but it's going to be like an
Mm,
attacking style of play of the forwards. So a lot of
mm.
kicking for touch, maybe 50-22s with the Boot of Franstein, and then
Yeah.
trying to, win the line out, maul it over. And here and there, maybe give the back line a chance or two. But I mean, Mr.
Mm.
Butterfingers are still in there. So, well, he's still in there. So I don't know how much of the back line we'll
Mr.
actually see.
Butterfingers, let's hope Mr. Butterfingers practice his kicking, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So he can
worst
add
case.
some value to that Springbok backline. But obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, Trevor Nyakane, not making the matchday 23. I think he struggled a bit in the scrums. And then yeah, Bonge Mbonamwe, who is usually a starter, now finds himself on the bench, and Malcolm Marks just continues to impress. I mean, we all know that he's a great player, and now he just shows what kind of talent he still has. So that is very great to see. Gabsy, I mean, the last time that Argentina beat South Africa in South Africa was in 2015, where the game was played in Durban as well, and they secured a 37-25 win. Where Juan Imhoff, the winger, who has now come in the winger slot
The
for
surprise
Argentina.
package, huh? It wasn't
Exactly, he scored a
Sanchez, it
hat
was
trick.
him.
He scored a hat trick in 2015 to secure that win over the Springboks. And I think, yeah, maybe it's a good time. Let's get into the Argentinian lineup. I think it's a very strong team that has been named. Like we mentioned, Imhoff coming in, which is great. I think we don't see we've been calling him Gallo, the prop, but it's actually Gajo or Gajo. I mean,
Thank you for,
yeah.
doing the pronunciation check for us there. Because if you left it
Also
to
doing
me,
my best.
obviously, I would have said
Our
something like
Argentinian
hello.
fans helped us out on that one, so thank you very much. So unfortunately, no Gazo this week, which I actually thought he did a very good job last weekend around. But for the rest, it's a very strong team, right? I think that back row is very scary. If I look at that back row and I see Peter Step the toy starting again, which has been struggling to find his form, and he's getting the nod ahead of Franco Mostert. He's going up against the likes of Marcos Crema, who has been continuously impressing. Juan Martin Gonzalez, who we love on this chat. We think is a very, very valuable player, and he continues to impress. And then the main man, Pablo Matera, who always shows that he is up for the big
Yeah,
games. So,
he's really
um,
just such an example. I know he's not captain anymore, but he's just always leading from the front. Even though he's not the captain, he's just really such a phenomenal player.
yeah, I mean, he's a great player, right? And then actually on the from the bench last week, Matias Moroni, the center for Argentina, came off the bench and scored a try to actually bring it within 2 points against the Springboks, which made many Springboks fans quite nervous. And then so there's a little bit of a switch in the centers, De La Fuente on 12, and Moroni going on outside center. And then the player who actually I want to highlight is Thomas Kubeli for the Argentinians. I thought Thomas Kubeli really did an exceptional job to bring the Argentinians back into that game last weekend. In where did they play against again in Argentina?
In
Can't
Buenos
remember exactly
Aires,
what was it. Yeah,
I believe
he
so.
did a very good job to get the Argentinians back into that game. So you got Augustine Creevy on the bench. There's heaps of experience. So yeah, very exciting to see that line out working. as it has done, best liner in the competition for the Argentinians. So yeah, that's a
I mean,
very big
that's your
game.
opinion, but yes, very good lineup.
It's not, it's the stats opinion. Let's put it that way. But
Stats can
Gabsy, I
also
think
lie.
The Springboks have, let's put it this way, they have the advantage of um, looking what happens between the game between the All Blacks and the Australians or the Wallabies. To see actually what they need to do to win this rugby championship. They can see if the Wallabies, like you mentioned, beat the All Blacks. The only thing the Springboks need to do is beat the Argentinians in Durban. If it so comes that the All Blacks have to win, then obviously, depending on bonus points and points difference margins, it
Yeah,
makes the job a little bit more
I mean,
difficult. But
if I may, there just I know we're going to
yeah,
transition over to that game now, anyways. But I really do think I have a little gut feeling maybe the Aussies really fight hard again, and it comes down to the Aussies keeping the All Blacks away from a bonus point, and then the Bokke has to go and win with a bonus point. That would
yeah.
probably be the most exciting, entertaining case for this weekend, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's up for grabs. But let's get into it. Nah? The All Blacks versus the Wallabies. There's a lot of niggle in that game. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of beef between those two teams. It all started with the way that the Wallabies received the haka in Melbourne last weekend, where they sort of formed a boomerang when they accepted the haka, which the All Blacks were not quite happy about. Australia came out and said, listen, it's part of our culture, the Aboriginal culture, forming that boomerang. You guys do the haka, we do the receiving of the haka. That's one thing. The second thing is the ban that Darcy Swain got for that very illegal clean out on was it Tupaya, who actually it looked like a career-ending injury, and he only got something like maybe 6 to 8 weeks,
I think
which
it
is,
was a
in my
6 week ban.
opinion,
Yeah.
ridiculous. Exactly. So there's already a lot of friction between these two teams. So
And
yeah, it makes up
obviously,
for
let's not forget the
everything.
way that the game ended. I mean, that's a story by itself. I think
Exactly.
the ref has
Exactly.
even now been asked to apologize to Australia, but I don't think that will really happen. That's um
That would have been hilarious.
yeah.
But
So
yeah, Gabs,
yeah.
let's get into this game. The Australian team. Do you have some insights? Who's coming in? Who's going out?
Yeah, so obviously touching on Darcy Swain, who only got the 6 week ban, he should have probably gotten more for that because nobody wants to
Got three
see.
years for that shit.
Yeah, never been able to play rugby again. Yeah, so I mean, on that, there's a new guy in town. His name is Caden Neville. I never heard of him, to be honest.
Mm,
Apparently, he's been in the squad way back in 2012 or something. Anyways, he had one cap against England, so he's coming in there.
yeah.
But yeah, don't really know him. Anyways, the rather bigger names coming in the forward pack is Harry Wilson, the eighth man of the Reds.
Ooh,
What a
we
eighth
love
man!
Harry Wilson.
Yes, what a
We
player!
love Harry Wilson.
And then you
Yeah.
see, obviously, with him coming in, my favorite player, Valentini, the younger brother of Ori Savia, slotting into six flank. Um, so, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's an
having said
animal.
he's an amazing player, and I think he brings a lot of energy to the field, and he's all over the park. So yeah, I think it's a pretty strong team, except for Mr. No Name over there. But other than that, then in the back line, you don't really see any changes. It's the same back line that played against the All Blacks in the first game. So um, same team. I think Bernard Foley once again is going to be a crucial player there. If he can kick like he kicked last week and he keeps the game together and they really capitalize on their chances, I think they can put the fight on again. There's no reason why they shouldn't put the fight on. With a guy like Nick White coming off the bench, kind of, um, re-energizing the players. We know how he can be when he comes on. He can really be a handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and then you have guys like Fraser Smith who start a few games on the bench. So I think,
Fraser
all in
McWright.
all,
Yeah.
Fraser McWright, sorry. But all in all, you have a pretty strong Wallaby side. And I think they will really be
Correct.
up for it. I mean, they know they can still win the championship. Obviously, they're probably third in line if we talk about favorites, but never say
Mm,
never. So the Wallabies will
of
go all
course.
out and they'll want to get revenge for last weekend. Let's not forget that. But having
That's
said
true.
that, Goran, let's talk about the All Blacks. I mean, they have quite some big changes.
Well, yeah, firstly, Australians, they've got a big job in front of them at Eden Park. It's an extremely difficult venue. in New Zealand to go and play and go and win. It's I think the last win there was in 1994. I might be mistaken. Maybe some of our viewers can correct us on that one. But the closest the team has gotten was the British and Irish Lions, where they drew that second test. If we look at that team, it's an interesting team to me, to be honest. I thought Samisoni Tukiao he's in the form of his life. He's been performing week in, week out,
Yeah.
extremely well. Him and Audie Savia, who actually is also back. But in place of Samisoni Tukiao starting, now you got a guy like Cody Taylor coming in. Like, yes, he brings a lot of experience, but it's quite interesting that they didn't go for Samisoni Tukiao in terms of form, right? So you got Cody Taylor coming in. Then Audie Savia, like I mentioned, is back. He is a phenomenal player, and he is a big match player as well. He really knows how to
Yeah.
secure a game, and he's an 80-minute player, right?
And he had a rest last week, so I'm pretty sure he's going to come out with a full tank and he's going
This
to blow it
guy
all out.
is gonna come out fire blazing. I mean, you
Yeah.
better watch out if you're the Aussies. And then no Scott Barrett, no Shannon Frizzell. They went with a more speedy or flashy approach. That's how I like to call it. You got Dalton Papali'i on the bench. You got a guy like Akira Ioane starting. So it's a team that once this team scores 2 tries and you need to play catch up, you're going to struggle to beat them, right? And that's where guys like Richie Mwanga is going to start coming into play. Guys like Ricky Ioane is going to start coming into play. You got on the fullback, Jordy Barrett no longer plays at fullback. He has now moved to center in the 12 jersey, which I think a lot of people is very excited about. But when do we get to see Roger Tuivasa-Sheck? What a phenomenal player that guy is. When does he get his opportunity? He got a few minutes against Ireland, unfortunately, not enough to really show what he is capable of.
Yeah.
But that guy was the informed player. It's the same how we feel about, as Springbok fans, about Andre Esterhuizen or Ivan Rutz. I mean,
Yeah.
give this guy a shot. I mean, he is on the bench, but I think they could have started him.
In the defense there of seeing it out of a coach's perspective, as I have coached in the past, you know that. So, I mean,
Okay.
out of a coach's perspective, I think the same way people have been asking, why did Jock Ninoba not bring in a guy like Chris Smith or someone for a backup 10 and give him the exposure? I just think as it's a final week, you go for a more conservative approach. You go somebody that's been there, they've been through it all now, they know the calls, they are in it. And I think that's probably the view they see it, just to kind of defend, the selection there.
Yeah.
But of
I get
course,
it, Gabsy, but you're playing a very great fullback. You're putting it on 12. You're playing your best or one of the best 10s in the world in Bowden Barrett. You're playing him on fullback. You've got one of the best fullbacks, another fullback, and you're playing him on the wing with the likes of Will Jordan, right? And this has been the case for a few years now with the All Blacks. So
yeah,
they just
I
want to
mean,
retain their
they
best
will not.
players, put them
I don't think they
on the
will
sheet.
take risks like that in a week like this. Maybe if it was a
Yeah.
different stage, maybe a year-end tour or something, we'll see that happening. But,
Mm.
anyways, Gwedi, yeah, I think it's a super exciting team. Like you said,
Yeah.
one or two interesting things. Cody Taylor getting the start there, and Geordie Barrett, of course. Those are
Mm.
the two big talking points. And then
Yeah.
obviously exciting loose trio with Akira Ioane, Dalton Papali'i, and Audie Savia. So yeah, very
Well,
exciting.
Dalton on the bench, Sam
No,
Cane, obviously, the
no,
captain. He's still going to start, isn't he?
no, Sam Cane is not playing. I
Is he
didn't
not
want
playing?
to interrupt you there, but Dalton
Well,
Papali'i is
goodness
starting.
gracious, this should have been half of my review of my preview. Nevertheless, well, unfortunately, not Sam Cane then. But yeah, like you said, Akira Ioane and Dalton Papali'i and Audie Savia, I mean, those are very, very handy players to have, especially when the game gets loose, right?
Yeah,
They're quick, they're fast, they've got great ball handling. So if I'm an Australian fan, I would not want the All Blacks to get 2 or 3 tries ahead, because then it's going to get chaos, especially at Eden
yeah,
Park.
no, definitely.
Nevertheless, Gabsy, let's quickly chat about your big expectation player. You are going to select one for the Springboks, one for the Australian team. I'm going to go with one of the Argentinian big expectation players and one for New Zealand. Who do you got for the Springboks this weekend?
I'm sorry,
Who's your
guys,
big
if I don't make
expectation?
it super exciting, but I'm going to go again for the fly off. And this week it's France Steyn. I just think he's going to be so
Yeah.
crucial. He's going to be influential. If he finds the 50-22s, if he finds touch good, if he kicks off his tee good, and if he makes use of his opportunities, I do think Willie Leroux will come a lot into first receiver and France will be more of a
Mm,
defensive role in attack. But
correct.
he's going to be a big player. He's my,
Yeah.
BEP. So
Yeah,
he's
your
my
babe.
big expectation player goes out to France
It's a
Steyn this
good
week.
call. It's a good call, Gabsy. For Argentina, I'm going with Pablo Matera. He's my big expectation player of the week.
I
He's
love it.
shown, I think, yeah, when they beat the All Blacks, I think in Australia, when was it? Last year or 2 years ago? He was very, very good. Gabsy, he was very, very good. And he's one of those teams who knows how to ignite a sort of an
I mean,
upset.
they also beat
So
them this year and in New Zealand. So he
yeah,
was also
yeah,
involved
but
in that.
I thought yeah he was very good, obviously, but in that one, which was the significant one in terms of showing
Yeah, yeah.
the sort of the Pumas fans what is possible for their team. So yeah, that's incredible. And then for Australia, who do you got?
I actually want to throw the ball in your hands and ask you, who do you have for New Zealand first?
I love it. I'm gonna go with Riku Ioane, right?
Woo!
For the All Blacks.
On the outside of
I think
Barrett.
this is the game where Riku Ioane is gonna stretch his legs. He's gonna score multiple tries and he's gonna rack up the meters. So I think he's gonna have a big influence in that game. Who do you got for the Aussies?
I'm gonna go with Audie Seville's brother, Rob Valentini. I just think that this guy,
The brother. Yeah,
he's just for me really a really good player. I really think because
yeah,
there's so many other good loose forwards out there in world rugby, he's
correct.
almost in the shadow. Like you
Yeah.
have guys like Dwayne Vermeulen, Audie Sevilla, Sia Kulisi, Pablo Matera. And I just think Rob
Mm,
Valentini doesn't get the credit he deserves. I mean, he's been also
that's
playing
true.
alongside with Michael Hooper, but I think,
Yeah.
he's going to be a crucial player for them. He needs to bring the
Mm.
physicality and the energy. That's the big expectation players. Guys,
Who
please
do you
go
got
let
for the
us know.
predictions?
Yeah,
Predictions, Argentina, Springboks.
I'll give you guys the pool straight away. If you haven't gone on our Instagram page at Rugby Hub Spot, go and check it out.
Go
Please
check
also
it out,
comment, of
boys.
course, and let us know what's your big expectation players. Give us your thoughts about this. This far, we have a 62% winning percentage for the All Blacks over the 38%
Mm.
of the Wallabies. And then, by no surprise, being South African boys, we have a 100% winning percentage for the Bokke over the Argentinians. So
Los
if you don't
Pumas, we're sorry,
think
boys.
that's true, then go and vote. But
Yeah.
on that note, Guri, I think that's it for the week. We are going to be back with a final review. And Goran, super exciting stuff. I think I'm going to wear this jersey to work tomorrow. And I just can't wait for Saturday. It could just be tomorrow. I'm super excited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very excited.
Guri,
Yeah, Gabsy.
thank you so much for your time. Guys, please share with friends and family. And thank you so much for all the continuous support.
See you guys for the review. Cheers, Gads.
Cheers, Guri.